We are back with another Agree or Disagree on the build-up to the Turkish Grand Prix, the first one since 2011. Very excited to be going back to Istanbul. It's been a very long time. There's been a lot of people wanting this track to be back, and here we are. But is it going to make a permanent return to the calendar? Well, we'll have to wait and see on that front. If you're new to Agree or Disagree, basically we ask some of you guys over on our social medias, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, to give us your opinions about anything about Formula One, of course. Let us know any form of social media, and then of course we'll say whether we agree or disagree and explain why. So of course, let's kick off with the first one. Comes in from Lyle, not personally, but he's going to be announcing the first one. So Lyle, who is it from, and what have they said? What is their opinion?
Well, like always, we have 4 incredible ones from you guys, 2 each, of course. So the first one comes in from Liam Talks F1, and he says Senna is the best movie/documentary on F1. Great question, really, really good. Obviously, movie and documentary, really different things. We'll get into that later on. But to start off, I am gonna say 100% agree.
I'm also, I don't know. There's some really good ones, documentary-wise. I'm going to say, I'll say agree as well.
So the fact that I'm saying agree is quite personal. And to be honest, when I saw this question, it means a lot more to me, actually, personally. I've never really thought about it like that way. So obviously it came out in 2010, early 2011, sorry. Around the same time I was getting into Formula One, and I was a big fan of that documentary. Really the first ever documentary that I've watched from start to finish, especially at that age. You know, I mean, I know I'm saying that age, people are still in sports, but I wasn't a massive sports fan across the board. Actually, Formula One was probably the first sport that really glued us in. I'd say I became a big Formula One fan before I even became a big football fan in a way. I did go to games beforehand, but this was the first sport to really hook us in, and this was really the catalyst to get us. I really liked watching this documentary, and like I've said to Jordan and people, and of course we talked about this a lot at school when it of course came out. I was a really big fan. Obviously, Ayrton Senna, the 3-time world champion from Brazil, who passed away in '94. So obviously, before I was born, before Jordan was born, many of you guys will be. You won't have seen him drive. Obviously, some people did, and the people that did see him drive, of course, said it was incredible as well. Mm-hmm. It was a documentary. It had scenes from his life and scenes from his drive, and that were just 100% real. There was no Americanization, which you might get on Netflix, Drive to Survive. So I'll touch on that in a little bit. It was just pure 100%. It was Murray Walker commenting on the big races, such as the 1989 Japanese Grand Prix, the 90 Japanese Grand Prix. Then you've got the 84 Monaco Grand Prix. Obviously, Senna, when he crossed the line first, was it a win? He understood. The big controversial maiden race for the Brazilian. Obviously, my personal favourite race, the 85 Portuguese Grand Prix at Estoril. Which again, would I ever have seen that if the movie Senna hadn't come out? The documentary Senna, because I should just stop saying movie, because again I'll get on that in a little bit, as Jordan said there, and that's why the decision is hard. So for a documentary, it's definitely the best, for sure. Personally, I think it's the best. As I say, it does mean a lot to me because it got me into Formula One in this way. I mean, Jordan said before that, I'm a big Senna. I was a big Senna fan. He even said that when he reacted to a certain old channel of mine. To be honest, that's true. But it was mainly kind of a reaction to seeing this amazing documentary. I'm like, Ayrton's, an incredible driver, really, really good. It was great. He was the best out of the guy. It brings also a lot of attention on Alain Prost and things like that. And yeah, it opened my eyes to Formula One. It was 100% real, no Americanization, so things like Netflix, we definitely see that in, there's points where you can I want to say Americanization, that's just a word that kind of, it just shows that some things get twisted to make it more entertaining. The sports side we lose the sports side, we lose the actual real side of it, and it becomes more about the entertainment side of it. We all know that scenes are shown from different, be seen at Silverstone, that'll be shown at Azerbaijan and things like that, and things that'll be spiced up when they didn't have to be, things built up when they didn't have to be. For example, they make Gunter Steiner look like an absolute, like the worst thing since sliced bread, and the Haas drivers insanely immature. It's not like that. The player Daniel Ricciardo, like he was to blame for the Azerbaijan crash, not the case. It's just for our entertainment, really. And obviously also we've got movies like Rush, which was a movie. It was made for our entertainment, of course. Incredible story, of course, about Niki Lauda and James Hunt, but it was for our entertainment. It wasn't there to be 100% factually correct. Of course, it will have had Formula One drivers watching it. I mean, of course, all the drivers did go to a private showing, along with Ron Howard, Chris Helmsworth, and Daniel Bruhl, obviously the actors and the director in the movie. They went to a showing just before the 2013 Monaco Grand Prix, which again the drivers then discussed what the movie was about. James Hunt's family were there. I think it's Peter Hunt, I think his brother, who obviously voiced him in two, and then also the late Niki Lauda obviously was in attendance. To make a movie about someone who's still alive is a very hard feat to do, because of course they're the best judge of their lives, and they nailed it completely. He said it was absolutely insanely amazing. Made up that word, insanely amazing. I said that. And it was a good movie, but obviously it was Americanized. For example, there's actually a scene in Nürburgring just before Niki Lauda's crash, which is shown again in one of the later races. I think it might have even been Japan. You can actually see it as well, obviously just in the little kind of the fast shots that it does. It shows a shot in Nürburgring, and it's exactly the same as the next one in the movie. So definitely a bit of copy and pasting going on there. So yeah, in terms of entertainment across the board, it's very much a personal thing. And obviously we have had movies made about Formula One. So in that way, it might not be the best, and I think that's probably what might be catching out Jordan. Obviously, we'll get his opinion in a little bit. But in terms of a documentary, I'd say it was definitely the best. That's also beaten out documentaries such as Sky Sports' Race to Perfection, which of course is on right now. Incredible stories, of course. It has, it really delves into the stories about, championship rivals, championship contenders, Damon Hill's 96 victory when Murray Walker has his lump in his throat, Lewis Hamilton's is that Glock moment, things like that. But I'd just say Senna was good. It was 100% pure racing. It told the story, of course, an incredible driver who, again, might be overlooked by the new Formula One fans, of course, who will just jump on Schumacher and, of course, now Hamilton being the best. It was great. It was really good. It was true. It told a great story of an amazing guy, and it really opened the eyes to a lot of people, and it really did for me as well. I was a big fan of Ayrton Senna at that point. It made me want to know more about Formula One. I then also looked into other drivers, such as, of course, the late Roland Ratzenberger, who passed away on that weekend also. Rubens Barrichello, of course, who had his maiden race that weekend. Nigel Mansell, Alain Prost. Even Niki Lauda at that point, because I'd heard of their names on Senna. It was just amazing. It really was. I'm a big fan, and yeah, that question really opened up a lot for me. I was kind of blown away when I saw it. So yeah, definitely 100% agree to that. Personally, definitely the best out of both those categories. Movie, it's not really there for our entertainment. Obviously, it is blocked to a movie, 90 minutes of pure of entertainment almost. But it's different. Obviously, it is complete fiction. It's not the real one. Sorry, that is fiction. No, non-fiction. Sorry, it's non-fiction. And obviously, Rush is in the way that obviously it's a dramatization. It's made on. It's got actors. But the documentary Senna is absolutely incredible. So Jordan, obviously, you got a little bit tongue-tied. But you did say agree.
Yes.
Is it the movie/documentary that you get, or what is or do you think that obviously, do you think there's another one that is challenging Senna? But as I say, overall, you did say agree. So why do you think Senna is the best movie/documentary about Formula One?
I think it gives a good insight into obviously Ayrton Senna. Of course, it's like there's different ways of doing documentaries. You've got where you use footage, like actual archive footage from family videos, and tell the story about that particular person. More than likely, it'll be unseen footage that people have never seen before when Senna was away from the track, or even during a practice session or a qualifying session that no one's ever seen before. Then, you will have one or two videos where he's out on track or he's in the paddock or whatever, where you haven't seen before, like famous moments where he's spinning or crashing or winning races or whatever. And it's just the way the story is told from start to finish, from 84 to 94. It's just, I think it's remarkable, and certainly it's a great story as to how they essentially brought to our attention who Ayrton Senna actually was. And it came at a perfect time for me and Lyle, because like we said, we just become fans at this point. We didn't know too much about Formula One. I knew who Senna was. I knew one of our friends who was a fan of F1 at the time also told me about Ayrton Senna, how he had died at this track called Imola, how it was very dangerous, and that's all I knew. I didn't know he was a world champion, or I just knew he was really good. I didn't know if he was like a young guy who had a lot of potential, or whether he was like an old guy who had like 1 or 2 years left in him. I didn't know him, but But yeah, it certainly it was a really good story about Ayrton Senna as well, and certainly I absolutely love that documentary as well. But also there's some other ones that, again, why I was getting a bit like, is it good, is it not? Because you've got The Rush, like Lyle said, but that's more of a movie. It's not a real Niki Lauda, it's not a real James Hunt. It's obviously actors, and again, you go behind the scenes and they just kind of guess, what did James get up to? Yeah, you had Niki Lauda, but I don't think that they would have got every single scene absolutely perfect to Niki Lauda's like, and you know, they've got to do like a bit of like on screen, a bit of changes just for on-screen entertainment. So of course it's going to be difficult to do that regardless. But Nick said it was more or less to how he remembered it, and even the hospital scene, he famously said that he couldn't remember most of it, but even a lot of that brought back some memories or bad memories of being on his hospital bed at the time after his crash at the Nürburgring. So proves that how good that was. There's also a documentary called One. It came out back in 2013, about the same time as Rush, so that was a pretty good time of being an F1 fan watching documentaries.
And Sebastian Vettel's heyday as well. That was Red Bull's final. And so for me, loved it. 2013 Rush won Red Bull's final year of domination.
Exactly, it was a decent year for racing. Lewis Hamilton going to Mercedes as well. What a bad move that was.
Oh, terrible! I mean,
terrible move. What was he thinking?
Did he ever accomplish anything at that so-called team?
I don't know. I really don't know, if being totally honest.
Let us know in the comment section below. What did he comment? What did he achieve?
Yeah, how did he do? We're still waiting on this. I don't know how he did. Might have won a couple of races, did a couple of good things. I really don't know, but but One was like Drive to Survive, but for Formula One fans. But with Drive to Survive, like Lau said, there it was being Americanized. It was being a bit dramatic. There was a bit of like, yeah, they were showing scenes of Silverstone. They were cut to it being at Germany. But I think with Drive to Survive, it's not just for Formula 1 fans, it's for the neutral perspective.
Yeah.
Because for us F1 fans, like when they're building up the hype of a Grand Prix, like about a duel like between Hamilton and Verstappen, we know as F1 fans who wins. Mm-hmm. So to us, that is not dramatic. But to a person who's never seen Formula 1 or knows about F1 but wants to know more about it or just stumbles across it, they'll be on the edge of the seat going, oh, who wins? Yeah. And the stuff that they won't be interested in will be interesting to us, like behind the scenes stuff, like when K-Mag and Grosjean are, banging doors and throwing stuff about and interviewing, like going behind the scenes and stuff. To the neutral, that is not entertaining, it's boring. So it's all about where you stand with that. But if Drive to Survive was all about Formula 1 fans and made for them only, it probably wouldn't do as well, because it's also not drawing in more fans, because that's what's kind of it's balancing the scales of making F1 fans happy and getting for us to see what we want behind the scenes.
But the fact is, I just want to say one thing on that though, in terms of documentaries, docu-series even. There's a series called All or Nothing on Amazon, which follows. It's done different sport. It's done the rugby union national teams of New Zealand, and obviously the main one in South Africa from after winning the World Cup last year. They've done the Premier League teams of Leeds, Manchester City, and Tottenham Hotspur. They've done a lot of the NFL teams, Arizona, Dallas, and the fact that I really like them is obviously, I mean, again, I am an NFL fan and a Premier League fan, not so much a rugby union fan. So again, when I watched the New Zealand one, the All Blacks, and again, obviously I'm playing rugby at union stuff, when I watched that, it wasn't dramatic, it wasn't made, it was all about New Zealand, it was all about the All Blacks, it was all about on-field action. And that's what I loved, and I know what Jordan means, of course, it would lose less fans, and maybe not everyone watches the All or Nothing series. If you're not an NFL fan, or not a rugby fan, or not a Premier League fan, or even when we don't support City or Leeds or anything like that. Yeah. One of my teams is in this, but apart from that, that's it. I have like 7, 8, series. But because it's all about one sport, that's what I like about it. And I wish Netflix would have been a bit more like that. I'd love to have seen an All or Nothing Formula 1 or, I'd say Drive to Survive just purely on racing, but obviously I know what Jordan means in that sense.
Yeah, exactly. So, and yeah, you got to try and draw more fans in at the same time. But like that one documentary was pretty good, and that's how I kind of got to know who Jim Clark actually was and how good he was, and that's where my love kind of started for that. But that's a brilliant documentary as well. One, if you haven't watched it, I would highly recommend it. But in terms of how the story is told, because Senna's story is told differently to how the others, because in other ones you got people sitting down talking about that particular moment, like a lot of documentaries are made, but with Senna it goes really in depth into his life, into his Formula One career. And that, for me personally, that's something I really enjoy. And that's something I really want to have more done. And 100% I would love to see that about Michael Schumacher. Certainly, that would be a very good, or even another, something about Fangio, or something about Jack Stewart. James Clark would be a really good one. Someone who's a well-known, face in Formula One. Maybe one about Lewis Hamilton in a few
20 years time. Lewis Hamilton, yeah,
exactly, in a few years down the line. So that'll be pretty impressive. But no, Senna is certainly up there, probably the best Formula One documentary of all time. As of yet, anyway. Okay, so let's go on to the next opinion, which comes in from Instagram. First off the line comes in with the next one, and he says, as a big team, Mercedes should have a bigger junior academy. Junior academies seem to be doing a lot of trending topics around the world of Formula One at the moment. Red Bull, I'm looking at you. As a big team, Mercedes should have a bigger junior academy. I would say disagree to this.
I'm going to say agree.
Now, I think with junior academies, it's a gamble in the sense of if you want to promote one of your junior drivers to your team, for example. So a lot of them do it differently. So you've got Red Bull, who are religious to their academy. They, well, of course, they've got two teams, so it's a lot easier for them to control it, you know what I mean? So they've got AlphaTauri and Red Bull. So if one doesn't do very well, they can send one to one team and promote one to the other. That's how they work their system.
Have you ever done that? Have you ever done that, Jordan?
I don't know, actually. Yeah, that is very true.
Let us know in the comment section below if you ever done that.
Exactly. And Red Bull, the system has proved successful. Like Daniel Ricciardo, Max Verstappen, Daniel Kvyat, Carlos Sainz coming through the ranks, Jean-Eric Vergne, champion of Formula E. They've all come through the ranks of the Red Bull Junior program. Other ones haven't really had that success. So like Ferrari, Charles Leclerc is probably the biggest one out of the bunch. In terms of Mercedes, you could say George Russell, Pascal Wehrlein was one of them, Esteban Ocon, Lewis Hamilton. He was picked up by, McLaren, Mercedes, when McLaren were technically the face of Mercedes because they had a really close partnership. Some of the big boys at Mercedes now used to be, of course, at McLaren. So Lewis Hamilton, of course, came up through their academy. But do they need a big academy? Not necessarily, because I would say yes, certainly you utilize it, definitely. If you've got an academy, get them up to Formula One as quickly as possible. But at the same time, there could be a driver who's not part of a program who is very good, worthy of Formula One, who doesn't get there. Because if you're part of an academy, it makes life a lot easier because they fund your journey into Formula One. But I don't think because Mercedes being a big team doesn't mean to say that they need a big academy, because they don't need to prove. But they don't need to really prove anything in that direction. They just need to win races, and it would be good to see one or two faces come through the ranks. Certainly more so, but I think that they've done okay. And I think Russell will get into that Mercedes seat. So there's one, and there's only 2 seats available, and there's certainly loads more drivers in the academy. So who will never get there anyway. So it's really whatever they want to do with it. I think Red Bull is certainly the biggest. They're more known for it. Mm-hmm. Ferrari, they've got a really good system now. They've got really good drivers in, like Schwartzman, Schumacher, Eilert, Giuliano Alesi, who is brilliant at the moment. I think he's just been dropped, actually. Again, that was a bit of a joke. But like Ferrari, they're seem to be churning out some good drivers, but also. This talk of Schwartzman not going to be in Formula One, Callum Eilert being dropped. So there's been a bit of criticism as well. But at the same time, remember, money does talk in Formula One. So if a guy comes along with a lot of money, he is going to get a seat. That's how it always works. So, and there's not enough room for everybody at the end of the day. So do Mercedes want to really, put that investment into something that may never work? Well, it will work, but like the churn, load the money into the system where they've got loads of academy drivers, but none of them are going to get to Formula One because Ferrari are doing the same thing, Red Bull are doing the same thing, Renault are doing the same thing. So Renault was the one that I don't think they've ever promoted one of their junior drivers since 2010, 2011, I think it might have been. I really don't know. So Renault are the ones that you need to be questioning, going, guys, why you're bringing back Fernando Alonso, which, all right, fair enough, he's a brilliant driver, but you've got some really good drivers in the ranks who probably deserve a shot at Formula One. I think Renault is certainly again, they're wasting their time investing in their program because none of them are coming through the ranks into Formula One.
Yeah.
What reason for that? I really don't know. So, but no, I think Mercedes, they don't need it. They have got some drivers already, and certainly some drivers come through the ranks anyway, so they don't need a bigger program. They've got enough as it is. And if they want to expand it, then maybe they could, and maybe they would one day. I really don't know, but that's my opinion, and I would say disagree with that. Lal, you actually said agree.
Yeah.
What do you say again?
I said agree.
You said agree. And Lal, you went the other direction. You said agree with that. Yeah, why is that?
Well, so I think if back in 2015, 2016, even though, of course, we lost Nico Rosberg, Mercedes would never really be in the market for that because they knew two things. One, of course, that Lewis Hamilton would stay around. They thought Nico was going to stay around, of course. But then they were easy to fill it in because Mercedes was such a hot topic. You know, it was the big team to go to. To be honest, I'm actually really surprised when I think back to 2016 that, you know, it wasn't like a massive race, or it wasn't like a massive, you know, brown nosing competition in Toto Wolff to try and get to that Mercedes seat. I can't believe we went, you know, under the radar and went for unknown Valtteri Bottas at that point. I'm actually, to be honest, it stuns me to this day. We actually have a feeder question about VB77 coming up, but yeah, I thought a lot of people would be after that. Anyways, but we're not here to talk about that. So obviously we expected Rosberg to stick around, and we expected Hamilton, of course, to stick around. So that was a good partnership. Rosberg left, Bottas was filled. Okay, that was good. Mercedes didn't really have to worry. But now, obviously, we're getting to the point where last year, Hamilton's obviously also been in the media from about 2018 about possibly retiring. This has been a hit and miss tennis court thing, and of course it still is nowadays, even though he can actually win 7 this weekend, of course, in Istanbul. Permutations, we'll be sharing them on Twitter if you haven't already. It's tight. I think Bottas has to win and get the fastest lap and deny Hamilton a podium. And no, that's it. So Hamilton can come second, but Bottas has to get the fast lap and podium to win and keep it going.
I think Bottas has to outscore Lewis by 8 points to take the title fight to Bahrain. But if Lewis finishes ahead of Bottas, it's game over.
Oh, definitely, yeah. But I think that was the only permutation when it would, theoretically, whatever Lewis got, move on to the next round in Bahrain. Anyways, so again, we're not here to talk about that. So obviously, Bottas and Hamilton have been in the media about, is Bottas good enough? Should he be dropped? Is Hamilton going to retire? Now Mercedes could be losing, the worst come scenario for Mercedes, and obviously this of course could happen at any point, but Mercedes could lose both their drivers. Hamilton could retire and Bottas could be dropped, or Bottas could something could happen very wrong. Yes, of course, Mercedes is hot property where a lot of drivers would want to move to. You know, we've had drivers, the names have been floated around, mainly just free agents. You know, Hulkenberg, Perez, Sebastian Vettel. They've been in the media. They've been shifted around. But and obviously Max Verstappen, of course, is the one who everyone wants. He's like the bet on him is like 1 to 1,000. He's going to be in that seat, everyone says, apart from me. So Mercedes, even though they could get a driver in, it's actually not like written in the stars that Mercedes could instantly fill their seat straight away. I do think that Mercedes having a program would help. Obviously now George Russell is the only person who everyone wants. Everyone says he's going to be world champion. Everyone's bigging him up, and one of the main reasons for that is because he is very much like Luke Skywalker was. He is, or Obi-Wan Kenobi. You are our only hope. That was it, Obi-Wan Kenobi. I got there eventually. Help me, Obi-Wan Kenobi. You're my only hope. Help me, George Russell. You're my only hope, said Toto Wolff. Because George Russell is the only person who can help Mercedes to fill either Lewis or Bottas' seat. I don't know why I said Lewis or Bottas, Lewis or Valtteri, to fill their seat. If not, 2 drivers are going to go. It'll be George and then someone else, and nobody else linked in that seat. They had Ocon, as Jordan said, but obviously now he's at Renault. I'm not saying fill a massive junior program, very much like Ferrari have done. You know, you've got Schumacher and Schwartzman, and even Eilert, obviously with his ties, who, you know, they can't have 3 drivers in one team. They're most likely going to lose all 3 if they're not careful, unless they need to promote one straight away. But at least they do have 2 teams that they're not as close to AlphaTauri, but of course they can shift their drivers to Haas and of course Alfa Romeo, of course, where Charles Leclerc did, and as Jordan said there, the Ferrari driver now more successful in the Ferrari Junior program. Red Bulls is thinning. We talked about that again. Yuki Tsunoda could be their only hope, and he's most likely going to be signed by AlphaTauri alongside Pierre Gasly in 2021. Ferrari very much safe, even though the other 2 teams, you know, we could be looking at a Schwartzman or Schumacher promotion. Renault, it is a tight one to think. Obviously, we have Wang Yuzhou, we have Christian Lundgaard. What is going to happen with them? Of course, Callum Eilert also. They've had a lot of people in the past, such as Calderon, that they've let slip. So, it's hit and miss when it comes to junior programs. Of course, as John said, they're Renault are not using theirs, of course. And obviously bringing back Alonso is a big one when you compare it against Lundgaard or Joe or even Ilott. And we've never had that question yet. Is Ilott better than Alonso? Come on, guys, give us that question, because that is a good question. And to that, I say you'll have to find out later on. So Mercedes having a program, I think, would definitely help. Because it would give them a backing for drivers in the future. George Russell has got all the hopes of everyone, but he could flop. I'm not being nasty to George. I'm not just picking on him now, but as an example, you can't have all your eggs in one basket. You can't do that, and that's what Mercedes have done right now. But Lewis leaves, George goes into the team. It's George and Valtteri. Valtteri leaves, or Valtteri gets dropped even. I mean, again, they wouldn't do that, of course, if they didn't have a second driver. But Valtteri could easily get dropped. He could easily leave. Something could happen, and then they'll be left, up a creek without a paddle. And I know that could happen at any point. And I know that Mercedes are a big enough team that they'll be able to fill it most likely. But it's silly season, and also with team ties and things like that, and of course the midfield bunching up now. Teams, people want to go to teams like McLaren. People want to go to teams like Racing Point, Aston Martin for next year. Once thought of as midfield teams, once thought of jokes. I mean, McLaren was a joke. Who the hell would even go to them? And now they're amazing. Force India was not a laughing stock. That sounds harsh, but you had Paul di Resta and Nico Hülkenberg, not too long ago, and now you have Sebastian Vettel in an Aston Martin. Almost front-running team. It's incredible. So I think Mercedes having a junior program would definitely help. But it's hit and miss with a junior program. That's almost the question. Is the junior programs good? It's hard to say because obviously we know Renault's aren't, and obviously Red Bulls has faded away. But obviously Red Bulls has definitely proven in the early 2000s it was incredible. Obviously main one is being Sebastian Vettel. Anyways, moving on to the third question, and this comes in from the Pit Kid, and he says, if Vettel was in a Mercedes, he'd be equal or even better than Bottas. I like how he's even said equal to the four-time world champion. To that, I will say agree.
Yeah, I would say agree as well.
So my viewing on this is that Valtteri Bottas has been talked about a lot, and obviously we've defended him a lot, or I've defended him a lot. We have. Jordan has given as well, but I'm a big fan of Bottas, I really am. Obviously, good Mercedes driver. He was a shock, of course, to replace Rosberg, but we've gotten used to him, and he does his job. He does exactly what he says on the tin, comes second, and gets the points for Mercedes. Just look at what they did in Imola, 7-time world champions. So Sebastian Vettel, the 4-time world champion, if they ever got him into the team, that would be massive. Lewis and Seb, they would work together. I do feel like, again, going back to the Senna documentary, we did see Senna and Prost working together at some point. They did help the team. McLaren, 1988, of course, Constructors champions. But of course, they did headbutt, and we would most likely see that in the future from those two. But if Vettel was in the team, definitely world champion. Definitely. Rosberg won it. He beat Lewis Hamilton. He got the edge in a closely contested season, and of course, people will say Sepang 2016. Of course, that's what won it for Rosberg. But again, I beg to differ. Rosberg won the first 4 races of the year. Could have been 5, of course, if Nico and Lewis didn't crash in Spain. Great season, flawless season by Nico. Really got, physically he was great. He was a great driver. Mentally got the edge over Lewis, and he won the championship. And really it hounded Lewis. So 2016 Lewis really was on the back foot, and obviously he won, and then he was okay. I'm back on track. Sorry, 2017 Lewis, and then now I'm back on track. And again, if 2017 we had Rosberg still here, that would have changed. That would have moved the goalposts. If Sebastian Vettel did get in that seat, which, by the way, Vettel was a rumour in 2016, if you do remember that, it's actually, early kind of reports were that Bottas was actually going to be a seat filler for Sebastian Vettel, who was, again, unsure about his career at Ferrari, especially after a terrible, abysmal 2016. At least things improved for Sebastian Vettel after 2016, eh? So if he went to Mercedes world champion, for sure, definitely. I don't know when it would have happened. I don't know if he would have had loads. It would have been tight, but definitely at least 1-time world champion with Mercedes. That car is what Vettel needs. He is a good, very strong driver, one of the best we've ever seen in Formula 1 modern day. I wouldn't say ever, but definitely good and possibly on people's top 10s. He would be better than Bottas, definitely. I don't think equal to, I don't like that. He would have done very, very well. But that being said, though, we've discussed it before. Valtteri Bottas, what's the best he can do if Lewis wins the race? Second place. And actually, second place and fastest lap, because I didn't say fastest lap for the first person. That's the best Bottas can do. Theoretically, Bottas can walk away with 19 points when Lewis walks away with 25, for second place and the win. Gets a constructors. So if Lewis does win and Lewis is still dominant in that car, that's all that Sebastian Vettel will do. It's just the difference is that Bottas has won, 7 races, no World Championships, and of course Vettel's won 52 and 4. And that's the difference. But I can see that for sure. Sebastian Vettel, I know he's a great driver. Red Bull, he was amazing. So definitely world champion at Mercedes. I know that's not the question, but, well, it's better than. Yes, it is, because obviously Bottas doesn't have one, and Vettel does. So that's my view for Sebastian Vettel, and obviously that's why I say agree. Sorry, again, Siri came on, Judd. What did you say for yours?
I also said agree.
So, Jordan, obviously, it's a tough one. We've discussed Bottas for a long time, but it looks like you're about to do a little bit of, maybe not Bottas bashing, but Vettel vamping. And obviously you said agree to that. Vettel in the Mercedes equal to or better than Bottas. Yeah, what's your reasonings for that?
I would certainly say absolutely. I think the reason why this is, of course, brought up is because Vettel is getting a lot of slack and how he's underachieving at Ferrari, and he's very unhappy. He's not driving to the best of his ability, absolutely. And people are saying that Vettel has lost his touch. In my opinion, I'm not going to say anything until he gets in that Aston Martin seat. Now, absolutely, Vettel is not on the level he once was, even a couple of years ago, back when Ferrari were actually competitive. I think the relationship is completely broken down. It's sour. Vettel doesn't want to be. Does he not want to be there? I think everyone wants to be a Ferrari. I just think that he knows that the car's not. It's not one with him, and when that happens, you're going into every race going like, if he was still going to be there, and he might go, okay, is this the race that gets us back into the fight for podiums on a regular basis? But now he knows that the car's not for him. He knows he's leaving now. He's just not in the same mindset anymore. Yeah. With Ferrari. But if he was at Mercedes and Lewis Hamilton wasn't, and he was alongside Valtteri Bottas, I can guarantee he could do possibly the same as to what Lewis Hamilton is doing right now, which sounds ridiculous, I know, because the way the two are. But look what Vettel did when he had a car for him. He dominated the scene. 11 and 13 were dominant years. 10 and 12 were, of course, more competitive. Mm-hmm. But even still, though, he rose above the rest and he won 4 consecutive world titles. Guys, that doesn't scream to me a bad driver.
Honestly.
All right, yes. Honestly, what are we doing here? Racing or ping pong? Brilliant line.
Oh, it's incredible.
And yeah, of course, it's an incredible line. Yeah, and of course, people are going to be, they're not going to be the same speed or same agility as to what they were back in the heyday. But he's got a lot of experience behind him. He knows how a championship winning team works. He's been with Ferrari. He's done some brilliant drives. I do point the finger at him a little bit for not winning the championship at Ferrari, but I also do point the finger, a bigger finger, about that big, towards Ferrari.
The middle finger.
Two middle fingers at Ferrari, definitely. I do like Sebastian Vettel. He does deserve better. He does deserve more. If he was at Mercedes, I would say the one thing that would benefit him even more than what Lewis would is he's German. German driver, like Vettel, at Mercedes. It just goes hand in hand, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And that's why you had loads of Vettel to Mercedes rumours, because Vettel's German. Marketing-wise, it'll be brilliant. And if Vettel was in that car and that car was for him, yes, we would see the exact same thing as what we are seeing right now.
Can I just add one thing that, just because obviously we're coming from two different angles, I actually was comparing it to if Vettel was instead of Bottas. If that was the case, obviously Vettel would do well under Hamilton. He would, and that's why I said at least one time world champion. But yeah, if we're going as in like it's Vettel and Bottas at the team, and obviously Vettel replace Hamilton, he would definitely be the leader of the team.
I think that's what the opinion means, because he's saying that Vettel could be on par, if not better, than Valtteri Bottas.
Yeah, much better. If that's a single question, much better. That we're done. Let's go home. But yeah, he could be doing. Yeah, I completely agree with Jordan there. I agree. I completely agree with Jordan there. Definitely could be doing what Lewis has done. Lewis has won all but one of his championships. I want to say, obviously he's won 5 at the moment. It's going to be 6 after Sunday, most likely. And yeah, 6 world championships at Mercedes, and obviously 7 in Vettel could have incredible. 6. And if he got 6, listen to this, guys. That would be. Hey, listen. That would be 10 world championships.
10. Wow, that's a lot. That's a lot. But I also think that it depends who, where, or maybe where Hamilton was. Was he at Red Bull and they were good? I don't know. But if we're going off just hindsight and that alone, I would say Vettel would be. Would he be doing better than Lewis Hamilton? Maybe not. I don't know, because I think Hamilton is certainly the better driver, but definitely Vettel is not as bad as what people are saying he is. And the annoying thing is, though, is that the younger fans coming into Formula One who are watching Vettel spinning and laughing at him, going, "You don't know how good he was back in the day. Like, you should watch some of his races in Red Bull. It was incredible. When he's at one with the car and he's got a car for him, Vettel is unstoppable. And we know this. And surely you guys will know this as well. I want to see him going to Aston Martin. I'm very excited for that. When that does happen, I think we will see glimpses of the old Sebastian Vettel regaining confidence.
The finger will be back.
Team,
the
a
finger
car
will
for
be back.
him. I think he will be winning some races with Aston Martin. Definitely. But then again, they could build him a crap car and it could be back to square one, and Vettel could say bye-bye to Formula One with his head between his hands, I suppose. I don't know. I hope that's not the case, but this is Formula One. It's so unpredictable, but we'll have to wait and see on that. So let's go on to the last opinion of agree or disagree. And of course, as you can see, the title of this video comes in from Sam O'Gara, a regular on the F1 debate show. Thank you so much for sending in your opinion. It's about Daniel Ricciardo. He says, Ricciardo has made another bad choice moving to McLaren. Renault have been preparing for the new regs since 2016 and look like they'll be fighting at the top soon. And as a manufacturer, they are better suited than McLaren. Now, Renault are just on a different surge of form right now. A very poor 2019, and it's been a very decent 2020. Ricciardo's already got 2 podiums to his name, 2 podiums in 3 races. Not bad at all. At this rate, Cyril people will be covered in tattoos.
I don't think it's one per podium.
A guy who likes rock music. I don't know. You know what Ricciardo's like? Maybe he's done some small print. And by the way, and every podium after that. You know what Ricciardo's like? He's very cheeky with that. But to this, I want to say disagree.
Is it going to be is it going to be a washout of agrees? No. I'm going to say disagree also.
Ooh. What did you say? Sorry, I missed that.
No. I said disagree.
I said disagree. Sorry,
sorry. I thought you were still reacting to me thing. Okay.
Yeah. So now, of course, looking at it now, McLaren they're not in bad form, but certainly you would think that they would have certainly kept up their form from last season into this season, and maybe took the challenge to Renault, because Renault have been really good this season. I've been very, very impressed with them. More so towards Daniel Ricciardo. Maybe Ocon could be doing a bit better, being a bit critical of him this season, but never mind. Ricciardo is doing what Ricciardo does best, and that is drive fast. Now, yes, of course, there was a couple of instances where Ricciardo did get lucky to be on the podium, but he's got to be there to have a chance of to get on the podium. Because let's face it, pace alone, that car shouldn't be on the podium. But because of what happens up ahead, of course, it's going to be on the podium. Ricciardo got it there. He was in prime position. He was out. He was never going to catch the top 3. One of them retires. One of them pulls away or gets a penalty or whatever. And he's in prime position to get that podium position. So, happy days. Now, I think it's too early to say it. It's looking like Ricciardo should be staying at Renault. But now he made this decision to go to McLaren before the season had started. And at this point, Renault had a really bad 2019, and McLaren had a really good 2019. So moving into 2020, McLaren looked like that they had produced a better car. Renault took a gamble on design, and it looked a bit more competitive. But was it going to be on the podium? Were they going to get a podium, or was it going to be another podiumless year for the Enstone-based team? That wasn't the case. Pace was good. That midfield is so tight, it's unbelievable. There's like 3 points separating the top, the 3rd, 4th, and 5th. It's incredible. So. So Renault are on a different level of form right now. I think what lured Ricciardo to McLaren was probably because the way that the form that McLaren are on right now, they're on the rise, they're on the up, but Mercedes power. Mercedes have got a very reliable, very quick engine. It's It's enough for anyone to go, oh, Mercedes power, absolutely. Mercedes power over Renault power, definitely any day of the week. Now, here's the problem. For next season, you can't develop the car at all. Well, very, very little anyway. You can't really change the car like you would do from season to season, because there was supposed to be a big regulation change next season, but because of COVID, they've pushed it back till 2022 and decided for next year to reduce costs. You're going to have the same car, but you can make one or two minor changes. Now, here's the issue. McLaren currently have a Renault power unit. Next season, they're going to have a Mercedes power unit. The chassis is designed around the Renault power unit. Mercedes power unit is designed differently. So McLaren have been given special permission to alter their design of the chassis so that Mercedes power unit can fit. That could be a problem. That could either go perfectly, so where there is no difference, and McLaren all of a sudden have a really good car next season and it all works in wonders, but not all the chassis will be intertwined with the design of the Mercedes power unit. So that could cause issues. That could cause chassis problems, and it could be slowing corners but maybe quick on the straights, and that's when problems occur. Now, I would say probably Red Bull and Ferrari as well. They're probably one of those ones where, like Ferrari last season, were quick on the straights but really bad in the corners, and that did compromise them. Yes, they did win a couple of races, but nevertheless, that could be McLaren. It could be even worse. I really don't know. And there could be all things wrong. So if that is the case, and Ricciardo is seen breaking down or DNFing or not having the pace all the time, it might look like the wrong decision. But I'm intrigued to see what the two parties can come up with, McLaren and Mercedes, that is, for 2022, the brand new regulations, because then the power unit and the chassis will be intertwined with one another. They will work. Will McLaren be back? That's when we'll know the definition of this answer. That's why I'm saying disagree, because quite frankly, it looks like the wrong decision, but we don't know that for sure. So I can't really say agree to this because I'm not in the future. Mm-hmm. So yeah, that's when we'll know the official answer to this, or the definition of it. But I'm interested to say, I think Ricciardo I don't think he's made a bad. I think either way, it's not a bad move unless McLaren do something really, really bad, which I doubt it, because Mercedes power unit is very good. If they were going, let's say, I don't know, Porsche power or Audi power, let's say, a brand new car manufacturer, then yes, it is a risk, because look what happened when Honda came into the sport. It all went wrong. But they've got a trusted power unit behind them. It's going to be fine. But it's all about the chassis and stuff, whether it will intertwine and actually be good, or whether it's going to be an absolute disaster. But 2022, that's when we'll know the official answer. Has Ricciardo made the right choice or not? In my opinion, I don't think he has at this present time. Lal, you also said disagree with me. Any reasons? What's your reasons behind that?
Well, unfortunately, they're not going to be as technical as Jordan's. I mean, that was very, very technical.
That was very technical. Wow.
Yeah, definitely incredible. So yeah, anyway, yes, of course, as Jordan said there, it was made before the start of the season. Nobody would have known what was going to go on. But instead of talking about why you would possibly regret it, which I don't think he is, and I'll touch on that in a minute. But the first thing is that, it's McLaren, it's a new venture, it's going to be exciting. Yeah. They are on the rise, again, as John said there, they're on the rise, they've got Mercedes engine next year. I think it's just the fact that the team is on the rise and it's a new venture. Ricciardo seems to be a guy who wants to take risks, he wants to take challenges. Even if Renault were a little bit better than what he thought, and he could get one or two or three lucky podiums, which remember he's only got 2 at the moment. If he flatlines in Turkey, 2 Bahrain's, Abu Dhabi's, and he's done. 2. Is he going to look back and say this was a good, successful year? Cyril's got his tattoo, or maybe even 2. But that's it. It's like it's not incredible. And obviously McLaren are better. Lando Norris and Carlos Sainz are one of the only teams on the grid that have had both drivers on the podium. And also this season is very good, actually, with people getting on the podium who we don't really expect to be there as well. All we need now is Latifi to get on there. So I don't think he's done a bad decision. Even if Renault were getting podium, so like for example, let's say he had 2 podiums at the team and then made the decision to leave, I think he'd still leave. Carlos Sainz has been on the podium. He got 2nd place in Monza. Lando Norris has been on the podium. Remember the time when he was on the podium in Austria, the first race, absolutely incredible. The youngest British podium sitter. It was absolutely incredible. It really, it was great for him, and of course his very young age also really showing that both the critics and that car And even us, she showed us that we can do it, and obviously
The video was made in June, guys. All right.
this came at the worst
Everyone thinks it was
possible
made after
time.
the podium.
The stars definitely did not align for us, but they landed for Lando and all of his Lando armies. Anyways, so I don't think I don't think Ricciardo's made a bad decision. McLaren are definitely on the rise, and McLaren will definitely have a better season than Renault will do next year. Having Alonso in is a bad decision. I don't agree with that. I don't disagree with that. The Renault, I'm thinking they'll be good next year. But what's made the difference in these two races is Ricciardo. Again, like Jordan said there, it's not the car, it's not the pace. Renault would never get those two podiums if it was just down to Renault. It comes down to in Formula One, not all the time, but it comes down to you're only as good as your teammate. You're battling your teammate. That's very much like when we say about Bottas. It's Hamilton 1, Bottas 2. That shows Bottas is good. If it was Hamilton 1, Bottas 7th, then of course that would never work. We would know Bottas. We would see his true colours and know that he's not very good. That he's only, of course, an example. This year, that's why Sebastian is having his worst season in Formula 1, because Charles Leclerc is 4th and Seb's 15th. That's why. Next year, I'm going to see a bit of a difference. But this year, we're seeing a massive difference between Ricciardo and Ocon. It hasn't just been in these previous races when he's had his two podiums. It's been a lot of races. Yes, they have been bunched together. Yes, Ocon is a good driver. Yes, he's a big prodigy. He's going to be at the team for a very long time. French driver, French team. He is loved, and obviously he does have a good future ahead of him with Renault. But Ricciardo is the man who got those podiums. He's been getting better results than Ocon, and he's a better driver than Ocon, period. Renault have actually been lucky getting him into the team. Because also, as I'm saying that, I mean 2019 must have been an abysmal car, because again he was getting better results than Ocon. It still wasn't great for him, so I think it just shows Ricciardo is a great driver. It also shows going back to the Red Bull days how good he actually was, and the fact that comparing him to Verstappen was terrible. They're both different drivers, and Ricciardo was still great, was still better, and that debate will go on forever and ever and ever and ever and ever. And maybe we can even go back to that if they both end up in the same team. We'd never know. I think Verstappen has openly talked with Zach Brown at one point in his career about a move, or someone at McLaren, I should say. And of course, Ricciardo did say then when he left Red Bull, he was in talk with McLaren. So this has obviously been the deal that maybe he's even been brewing behind the scenes in his first year at Renault. Maybe this was something that was going to happen after, obviously, which he told us in Drive to Survive that he was in talks with McLaren also. So I think that'll be a good move for Ricciardo. Definitely Renault, he's been getting those results. He's much better than Ocon. But at the end of the day, you've got to make a leap of faith. I think that he definitely is. But it's not a bad decision. It's not in the blind decision. That's what I'm trying to say. The proof is in the pudding that McLaren are improving so well. You listen to Zach Brown's Beyond the Grid. You watch Andrea Seidel in interviews. You see how that team's ran. They've really had a rebirth. They've shaken off the, I don't want to say the bad, but the old presence of people like Jenson Button and Fernando Alonso. They've got rid of Stoffel Van Dorn, who unfortunately was not working at the team. They really gave it a big shuffle. They shuffled the team around. They went from silver to orange. Yeah. And they're becoming the brand new team. They're even selling the MTC, which obviously is not good, because obviously we always associate them, with the McLaren Technology Centre in Woking, but they're actually going to sell that and move to another MTC somewhere else in the UK. Newcastle, let's go. But they're really revamping. They really, really are. And if anything, actually, getting rid of this MTC and building another one, or getting another one, selling it and going forward, mightn't even be a bad thing. We love our old stuff in F1, but we like, new change. And McLaren definitely are. They really, really are. McLaren, and Ricciardo's seen a good chance to go here, and I think it's incredible. To be honest, Ricciardo's move is really good. It actually could be one of the best moves next year that we're all excited to watch. Beaten by Vettel and Aston Martin. So, again, his ex-teammate beating him to something finally, because obviously remember he didn't get the best of him in 2014. So let's say the second, or even on par with Vettel's move to Aston Martin, that we're all excited about. But if you're going to say to me what am I more excited about seeing, it's a tough one, because obviously they were both Red Bull drivers. I do like Seb. But I'm very, very inclined to say Ricciardo. It's like 50.5% versus 49.5% in favour of Ricciardo. I really am excited to see that. McLaren, British team, Ricciardo, he's incredible. He really is good. Massive smile. Really, really funny. Great driver. Obviously, fully deserved those podiums, but definitely got them on his own steam and not Renault. Hopefully, we can get some good result with McLaren. Anyways, guys, that is the end, of course, of Agree or Disagree. 4 amazing opinions, Jordan. You talking there about the power units.
Yep.
Of course, Ferrari,
Yes.
at the moment, not very good. Mercedes, good. Renault, average. Honda, of course, leaving Red Bull and AlphaTauri in the next few years. But you've just bought a Honda. So are you going to be putting some Honda-specific AlphaTauri Red Bull decals on it? I can just see you, Max Verstappen, Alex Albon. Actually, no, maybe don't do the Albon one because we don't know what. And maybe don't put Fiat on there. But are we going to see a Honda decal from you? And also, was that the reason why you bought this car? Honda fanboy, Red Bull fanboy.
It could be all in the works. I mean, I'm a McLaren fan and I've just bought a Honda. Imagine if I told myself this back in 2015 to 2017, I would be like, no, why am I buying a Honda? No, I mean, yeah, I probably could, but then I'll have to take it all off again for 2022, won't I?
Yeah.
So, I think I'll just have Max Verstappen on the front, and then I would have like half Red Bull, half AlphaTauri, and then have like sticky on for drivers, and then so that I can easily just peel them off, no problem whatsoever, without ruining the bodywork. Because I think that could be happening a lot of times over the years. Just stick it on. Okay, this driver's leaving. Move him from one side to the other side. And he's now on the Red Bull side, and he's gonna. Yeah, it might get a bit complicated if I actually do that, but. A Honda car is actually pretty good as well, which of course is very, very, very good. So guys, obviously this is where we're going to end Agree or Disagree. Thank you so much for watching as always. Loved it. Thank you so much to everyone who did send in their opinions. If yours didn't get read out, commiserations. You can still, of course, submit your opinion, for the next Agree or Disagree as we build up to the Bahrain Grand Prix. 3 races left after the Turkish Grand Prix. Guys, where's this year?
One of those Middle Eastern races that we're actually excited to go to. Actually, we have Turkey's on the border also of the Middle East, but we've got 3 races after Turkey in the Middle East. 2 countries in the Middle East that we're excited to go to, Jordan. And God, I can't tell you the next time we're going to see a Middle Eastern country we're excited to go to on the calendar. Oh God.
Oh dear me. Yeah, we've got loads of great races to look forward to next season.
Including the TBC.
Catalonia, Sochi. I can't wait for the TBC. What a Grand Prix that's going to be.
Who's going to win that? Ragunathan is going to win the TBC.
Ragunathan's going to win it. I wouldn't put it past him. This is Formula 1, of course. Well, of course, guys, if you're new around here, then please like and subscribe as well. Comment below about anything that we have said in this Agree or Disagree. And, of course, let us know your opinions about all 4 opinions from Twitter, YouTube, and Instagram. Watch what you're doing. Stay safe, as always. And until next time, we'll see you later.
See you later, guys. Take care.